still here, high noon safety meeting. Welcome, folks. Welcome to the show. Thanks very much for joining us. And of course, our expensive sound effects. Speaking of which, off to D. Go for it, D.
Cheers, everybody. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only. You have to be 21 and over to be here. If not, you have to leave. Joel's safe, and Chewy's safe, and I'm safe. So as long as you're all safe, then we're good.
That's it,
Back to
exactly.
you.
We checked each other's IDs before the show. That's how we know we're safe.
Yeah.
But prove me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know that we didn't. But ladies and gentlemen, please do be adults for the show.
That's I mean, 21. Like I'm barely 21, I guess.
You get on the Zoom room and you're showing your fucking ID. Anyway, cheers. Oh, first in the chat is Jones N2 Grow. He's saying, "Yo, barreling in like a Viking." Good to see you, Jones N2 Grow. Folks, please do be an adult. Please don't be a child for the show. We do discuss mature subjects like Yo Mama, of course, ganja from time to time, and other things. So please do be an adult, whatever that is in your locality, your principality, wherever the fuck you live. If the age is higher, I don't know, whatever it might be, please follow your local rules. I always say, keep your nose clean. Weed is a wonderful thing. It should enhance your life. It shouldn't lock you in a cage. So as much as we all disagree with weed being illegal in certain parts of the world, I would really recommend that you keep your nose clean and don't get in trouble. Do obviously fight for, weed rights and everything else. We absolutely would love to support you in some way behind that. But really, I think it's foolish to let yourself get locked in a cage by the fucking man. You know what I mean? But welcome, folks, in the chat. Good to see everyone. So far, it's only Jones and 2 Grow in the chat, but I'm sure we'll have some more names in the chat. Folks, you are welcome to join the panel. Some of you are probably new to the show. Every once in a while, we do get new viewers here. You are welcome to hop on the show. It's not a closed panel, so to speak, but we don't pin the link anymore. We don't basically post or pin the link unless someone asks. If you want to hop on, you're more than welcome to. You just need to ask for the link, and we'd be perfectly happy to provide it. Any blue name in the chat, there's not all that many blue names, as D, a couple other people would be able to actually pin the link for you, basically, or post the link rather. It's not some kind of a state secret or something. If you've been on the show before, it's actually the same link. I just kind of thought, hey, it's nice for people to kind of knock on the door, and I feel like, and so far it's actually been working. I feel like when people knock on the door, they act a little bit more politely. So we definitely haven't had any fights on the panel and stuff like that. So just a little bit of a moderation technique, I guess. Whatever. So, but folks, welcome to the show, and I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. Let me hand it off to D. What's going on with you, buddy? Welcome.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Jones and the Grow, and the other 6 people? Whoa, that are lurking in the background. 8 people now lurking in the background. I hope everyone's having a great afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. I'm smoking on some pre-rolls, and I'm also smoking on space fronts. Don't forget, you can also find me doing pre-shows for the Saturday show and the Tuesday show, pre-show on my channel, DZombie_745. Hope everyone's having a great day.
See you, D. North Star, off to you. What's going on, bud? Welcome.
Well, I'm sitting here trying to keep dry as my hill's getting washed away from the torrential downpours. Figure it's a good time for some bongs. I mean, I usually don't take bong rip store in midday, but I'm not going to be going outside doing much, so I might as well rip away at it and just trying to make the best of the weather here and enjoy it.
The West Coast, especially, I guess the Pacific Northwest has been getting hit the hardest by a so-called bomb cyclone, which is kind of funny. We don't normally get, well, actually, that's not true. I think we do get cyclones this time of year. Cyclones are the Pacific version of hurricanes. I think people don't realize that they're basically the same thing, right? Well, obviously, this cyclone is not like class 5, whatever, that was basically pounding Florida recently, but still a pretty significant cyclone, right? Not a hurricane, but cyclone because it's in the Pacific. Hurricanes can still be called hurricanes if they cross or something. If they cross the equator, I can't remember what the rules are, but down basically in like Mexico area, they can still be called a hurricane, even if they veer into the Pacific or something. But basically, whenever it's in like Japan or Australia or whatever, it's always basically called a cyclone. Anyway, they've been getting pounded. Can you imagine? I guess it's late now to have any plants up, but can you imagine if you had your plants up on the coast
Oh,
I mean, I
they
know
wouldn't
people
handle
in
it at all. I
California.
mean, it's bad enough I have a greenhouse going. It still has like 4 weeks to go.
Hmm.
They're not going to see sun for the next week probably, so they're just like in stasis, sitting there, not much going on. But realistically, we're talking about probably a foot of rain here over the next 3 to 4 days. Most likely, it looks like. So I think any kind of thing you have growing outside right now is not going to be doing well. I was going to actually plant my garlic yesterday. I've been trying to get to it. I was like, I think it'd be too much rain for it. Probably would just no. I'm going to probably start it indoors now because it's just such a freaking torrential downpour. Usually, you plant your garlic, you don't water it for a while. You let the sprouts come out of the ground before you even water it in. So I don't want to plant into this freaking soggy mess out here we have now.
No kidding. 100%.
I could see it. I can see it like Twister from the movie Twister. You know, cow, plant, plant again. I think it's the same one.
Oh man, can you imagine how sad that would be? You see all your pots
Yeah.
fly away with your fucking plants. Oh my god.
Grab it
Or
quick.
like the Wizard of Oz or something that gets sucked up in the tornado. Oh my god. Man, it's lucky we don't have tornadoes and shit where, well, actually, that's not true. We've been getting tornadoes in Oregon from time to time. Small ones, obviously. I don't remember what the classes of tornadoes are, but apparently, technically, we do have tornadoes now, which I shouldn't be happy about because it's not like a happy, like, oh, yeah, we have tornadoes or some shit. Captain, do you guys have tornadoes out in Ohio? I don't remember if you're tornado country.
We get them every once in a while. They're not a normal thing. Mainly in the northern part of Ohio because the southern part is broken up with hills and valleys.
Hmm. I don't know why I guess this doesn't directly relate to what I was just trying to say, but I think that they have tornadoes in Iowa, and I think I always forget that Iowa is not where it is, or that it is where it is. Basically, I forget that Iowa is like over here by the fucking lakes, basically, and it literally is in the Midwest, whereas Ohio is kind of more like almost New Englandy, right? It's verging over on New England. I'm sure you guys disagree, right? But somehow in my brain, Iowa is basically either where Ohio is or very close to it. I don't know. I don't understand it. Somehow I'm always surprised when I look at a map and I see Iowa. I'm like, oh, right, Iowa's right there. Does that happen to anybody else? Am I the only person that misplaces Iowa? Or do you
No,
know
I know.
Iowa? Captain 420 is like, I haven't thought of Iowa in 25 years. Anyway. But I was looking at a map the other day and I was like, oh shit, Iowa's literally to the left of the fucking Great Lakes? No fucking way.
Yeah, we're the North Coast.
You're the North Coast Great Lakes, is that what they call it?
Yep.
Oh, right on. Because technically, like when I would look at a map, I'd be like, oh, that's the South Coast, but I guess the North Coast would be Canada for you, huh?
Yep. South
Oh, that
Coast is
makes sense.
Texas, Florida, Louisiana, down
That's
that way.
funny. Okay, I would have never thought of you guys as the North Coast. How interesting. It
They're all
makes
linked
sense.
together.
I used to know, I guess you could say a friend of a friend who was not a stupid woman, by the way, but not super well educated, I guess we'll say. She was not, a Harvard PhD. We'll just leave it at that. But not a stupid woman, but she okay, she was also an immigrant, so perhaps she wasn't, familiar with the US, from childhood maps or some shit, right? But she was convinced that Chicago was on the ocean. She had been to Chicago, I think, to visit her relative or some shit. I don't remember because she was basically from the former Soviet Union, and so Chicago has a lot of Polish people, former Soviet Union people. So she'd been there, and she's like, "Oh no, the water, it's so big, blah 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 blah." And we were at this party, and she was telling us like she was convinced that it was the ocean, and we were like, "No, that's a lake. Like it's a lake. It's fresh water. Like that's not the ocean." She's like, "No, there were waves and seagulls, and it's the ocean." And there was no amount of convincing we could do to freaking it was almost like meeting a flat earther. You know what I mean? You're like, but you can look at the map. You can see that that's a lake. It's not an ocean. You can look it up on Wikipedia. It'll tell you that it's not, but you could do all that with the flat earth society too. But of course they persist in their fucking delusions, right? So anyway, it was kind of comical. Like probably to this day, she thinks that Chicago's on the ocean. But anyway, I wonder if she thinks Chicago deep dish is seafood or some shit. Anyway.
I knew someone that I knew someone that came to visit from Newfoundland one time, and she thought Lake Ontario was an ocean. So there you go.
I mean, in fairness, it's big enough. Yeah.
Because in Newfoundland, they actually do have the ocean.
Hmm.
They're connected to one of the oceans.
Atlantic Ocean, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, duh.
Right?
Yeah,
One
yeah,
of them. I don't know.
duh.
There's so many of
I
them.
wasn't saying
Yeah.
nothing.
Oh my
Jones
God.
Integro says smiles from tornadoes rarely observed in the wild. Kite flyers clubs. Yeah, exactly. Like the extreme kite flyers club fucking only flies in tornadoes. What's going on, Miranda Family Farms? He's hanging in the chat. Pretty slow chat today so far. Folks, maybe we'll just do a fairly short sesh. I actually have a bunch of stuff to do. I was telling Dee I've got kind of an important deadline tomorrow to take care of. A good one, actually, hopefully. So for a change, we have some good news to report on the channel. It's going to hopefully help. Yeah, 100%. So hopefully you're going to be able to see me build out a new garden, basically, which is going to be my space for a garden. So that's going to be delightful, not just kind of a, borrowing my friend's space or some shit. It's like it's literally going to be my garden, so that's good. What else? Yeah, actual studio space and stuff. So I won't have to kind of be hunched in a corner, basically. I'm not hunched really, but you know what I mean. Like I'll be able to actually have a proper space, basically, to because fuck, we do a lot of these live streams. I've wanted to do a lot of recorded interview shows, so it'd be really nice to have an actual dedicated studio space. I don't have to move shit around on the table every time I commit to something. Like every time I basically set up my microphone and recorder, I got to put my fucking recorder over here, and it takes up like half my goddamn desk, and yeah, it's a whole fucking circus. So it'll be nice to have my own place soon. Anyway, Jones Zentu Grow is growing some, or is smoking rather, some Black Knight's Delight, one of mine. He's saying it's soaking into the brain nicely. He's been complimenting that for
Ah.
some time. I'm really happy about it. I want to, when I get my new place, I'm going to finally crack into some of my old seeds again. And that's definitely one that I want to keep perpetuating. That was basically my selected Black Prince Ruby that I crossed to the Black Knight's Delight was the Black Prince Ruby selected number 3, basically crossed to the Coot Special Male that I really liked. So essentially a distilled down Ruby Jack, basically looking for the strawberry lines, basically. And that number 3 that I pulled out had this really interesting rose water linen aroma, like hanging clothes on a I don't know, a lot of us in North America dry our clothes, so it's a little bit different smell. But if you ever been fucking anywhere, Mexico, a lot of times they hang dry their clothes, and so you get this kind of linen smell, right? Especially I guess if you actually are drying linen. It had this kind of strawberry linens basically aroma that I found really appealing and unusual, honestly. So I really liked it. Had a great high, had this really nice piney aroma and this earth on the bottom. Really a complex, interesting aroma. But I thought, hey, what could happen if I cracked that wild Coot Special into it? And so far, people have been really digging it. So thankfully, I have quite a few seeds of that one still. So I'm going to crack into a nice selection, I hope, when I get to my new place. Anyway, folks, say hello in the chat though. We're already basically halfway through the show. We might honestly bag it in maybe another 15 minutes or so. We might do an early show tonight because, like I said, I do have, or today, because I have some shit to do. But do say hello, folks. If you have some questions for North Star, perhaps if you have some end of season questions or jarring harvesting questions, this is the season, right? I guess this is past the season. This is not Croptober anymore, but still, some people are harvesting. But folks, if you have any questions, comments, if you'd like to show off your harvest, if you'd like to show off your trim, whatever, please do hop on and say hello. What about you folks? I always say anything new, any new developments, any I don't know, any plans bearing fruition? What's the good word?
Well, I gotta go take my coffee maker back again. Just crapping it
Motherfucking coffee maker.
after the show. This is the third one in like a month and a half. It's crazy. So back he goes to get another one.
What kind of coffee maker?
Keurig.
Oh, I mean, I don't want to be an asshole, but have you thought about getting a real coffee maker? But seriously though, like a pour over or like it doesn't have to be complex. Like every day I use an AeroPress, which is a deceptively like brainlessly weird coffee maker, but it's super fast. I make my coffee from like the moment of inception, pressing the hot water kettle because I have a kettle basically that I turn on, and then of course I have the AeroPress too that I pour on my coffee mug. From the moment that I want to, well, I guess okay, I have three appliances. Before long, it's going to be 10. But anyway, no, it's a coffee grinder, the hot water kettle, and the AeroPress, basically. That's how I make my coffee. But if I decide, like right now, if I wanted to make a coffee, it would take me less than 5 minutes to go and make a coffee and come back. And a good cup of coffee. So I'm really a big fan of the AeroPress. But like a pour over couldn't be fucking easier. You don't even have to grind your coffee. I like to grind my coffee because it's a far superior quality. But if you want to grind the coffee at the store or something, you totally can. And then you basically just need filters, your pour over, and then a hot water kettle. And again, like within 5 minutes, you could have water. I'm always surprised, like coffee freaks that still use Keurigs. I'm like, dude, it's so much cheaper to make your own coffee, so much better. But I'm not gonna shit on you. Whatever, however you want your coffee, you can have your coffee. He's like, leave me alone, man. I like my Keurig.
No, but fortunately enough, though, it's gonna be either a refund or they're gonna exchange it.
Well, at least
It's
that. Shit. It's
yeah,
ironic because Keurig is a German brand, and German brands are normally reliable, but yeah, Keurig
yeah.
is not very reliable.
What's
A
that
lot
one?
of friends that have had, or hotels, they're always broken down. I guess I
What's
will go ahead.
no? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I will give them credit for this. The Keurigs make it easy to get a halfway decent cup of coffee in every waiting room in the world now. Like it used to be, you actually had to have like someone make the coffee and pay attention. And, how old is this coffee if you're in a fucking car mechanic's waiting room? Could be from yesterday or 3 weeks ago or whatever, right? But with the
Yeah.
Keurig, you can just make it yourself. And as long as sometimes they're connected to the water, but sometimes you have to refill the water yourself. Well, whatever. As long as the water looks reasonably clean, it's going to make a halfway decent cup of coffee. So I'll give them credit for that. It annoys me all the garbage and the expense and stuff, but I'll give them credit. It's like I say, since when have you been able to go to a fucking chiropractor? Well, I don't go to chiropractor, but since when do you go to a doctor's waiting room or some shit and you can have a decent cup of coffee? Shut the fuck up. It's okay. Once in a while, you'll find a doctor that probably has an espresso machine and actual barista, but I want to go to that doctor. That'd be great.
They have
Yeah.
They're
at my
psych
old doctor's
doctors.
office. What, Captain? Sorry.
They're psych doctors. When you go in for your appointment, you got an hour with them, you get a cup of coffee.
And at the end of it, they pour over the coffee grounds and do a Rorschach test. Look into the grounds. What do you see? I see Batman. Does that mean I'm Batman?
Hmm.
Come on, folks, say hello. Say hello to in the chat. Feels like we have three people in the chat, but I'm sure we have more. Miranda Family Farms, you're always welcome to hop on here. I hope you know that. Uh, what else? Yeah, we got like 15 minutes left to go, folks. Hop on here. Come join the conversation. What was I gonna say?
Did you start at 3 o'clock today?
Did I? Well, at noon Pacific. So no, I started a little bit later. I started at like 10 after or something.
Okay, because it wasn't showing up on any of my notifications until I'm hitting there looking for my subscriptions, and there's a red dot over your
I
icon.
wonder if it's the same thing. I remember. I don't think I have a notification either, and I think I haven't yet. I think you're right.
I do.
What was it? It used to be. It must be the same rule still applies. I guess I haven't thought of that in a long time. If your show normally starts at a certain time, and my show normally kind of starts, especially the high noon show, we normally start right around noon. If you start more than 10 minutes late, YouTube for some reason doesn't send a notification. And I kind of forgot
Ah,
that. I remember hearing about that like 2, 3 years ago or something, and then I tried to be more punctual with the timeliness, because people weren't getting alerts, but I totally spaced. And you're right, because I don't think I got an alert. I bet nobody got an alert today. That's probably why we
I
have
did.
in the chat. How funny! Oh,
I
you do?
got another. Yep.
Interesting. It's weird how the well, there's probably no rhyme or reason. I wonder
Just
if in
have to
Canada the
remember.
rules are different or something. That'd be bizarre. Well, anyway. First,
Maybe because
what's that, D?
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh gosh, I've asked you like every single question I can ask you. We're trying to kill some time now so we can
I can hear you. I came in off the porch. It was so freaking noisy out there with the rain. I couldn't hear myself think, so I had to come in. So
oh, that's annoying. Do you have a metal roof?
yes.
Oh, that's incredible. Some people love metal roofs. I couldn't stand the noise, I don't think, in Oregon.
I don't mind it actually if I'm just out there enjoying it, but if I'm trying to listen to something, it's
Right.
like a constant, like having a loud fan right in your ear or something. Just
That's
everything's
it.
muffled.
Yeah. And you can, I mean, in all fairness, you can insulate them fairly well, but I mean, still, you get this tap, 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 tap. I
Yeah.
think you get the same with basically any hard roof. I guess a metal roof is probably going to be worse, but I was going to say, like, I've been in houses with like slate roofs, and they're still kind of loud when it rains. What else? I guess those are the big ones. Or I don't know, like tile roofs. Yeah, like tile roofs can be kind of loud, especially if the tiles are built to like expand and contract in the heat, so it like rattles when the rain hits them. That's
Oh
kind of
yeah, it's windy out.
yeah. Jones had to grow his way
Yeah,
to
but
walk
I'm
the dog.
this is getting to the exciting time of year here. Come to the holidays. I have my little indoor holiday run. I believe I'm looking probably about a week to 10 days out before I can start picking some plants out there to start trimming up. So
Nice.
hopefully I'll have I think I have a little over a dozen small plants in there. Well, they're kind of overgrown. Their pots are not small anymore. They're up into the freaking lights and everything else. But it looks like I think I have 6 or 7 that are going to definitely be done in time. That I'll be able to have a full cure on them and everything ready to go for Christmas. And then the other half from the Dr. Kanangas, which is a pagan, which is an Apollo 13 times. So that's Apollo times Oaxacan times Colombian. It's a real sativa heavy lean mix. That sucker is going to go probably until almost the beginning of winter. So those are. So I don't think I'm going to have any of them to smoke in time for Christmas, but I'm excited. I don't actually do that many indoor runs of smoke stuff for myself. I do a bunch of test stuff like pheno hunt where I get little tiny testers to smoke, little 2 grams of this, 2 grams of that. But once every year, once every 14 months or so, I actually throw in a full run of just something from seed just for myself to smoke. And yeah, I'm getting excited for it because I haven't had anything fresh new to smoke from seed that's indoor. It's not a little, shit little sample where I'll actually get 2 joints off and be like, oh, it's really good. I want to have more. And it's already gone. Then I have to re-veg it and grow it. And I'm 8 months down the road, I'll get a chance to grow it again or something. So this will be nice where I can actually have some jars full of head stash from indoor.
That's the most infuriating part about re-vegging stuff. It can take so fucking long for stuff that it's just not really a practical thing in your fucking garden. What was I gonna say?
Well, in terms of the microbreeding, it's safe. I can in a 4x8, I can easily start 200 seeds in there. Hunt them out and basically 18 cell cups, 18 cell per little nursery flat. Load them son of bitches in there. I flower them all out once they hit about 2.5, 3 inches tall, or a little more. They actually showing they're like in veg state. So most of them finish off under a foot, and I basically chop the top half of all of them off and label the bottom half and the top half of everything. And I go through and smoke test everything. And then the keepers are the ones I transplant the keepers and re-veg those. And I can easily hunt down hundreds of plants that way. It's how I hunt down large numbers in a small space.
Well, that's a spectacular system. I reconsider everything that I said before. I reconsidered it. I like the idea.
So I'll say like the vortex I hunted through at 50 vortex seeds. I had 27 females out of that batch. I've worn that. I've went through all that. Now I have 2 keepers. I only got to run 1 in the greenhouse this year, but the other one I had a little more Apollo leaning. But yeah, so I basically like the sweet tea. I think I have 2 of them. Sugar jacks, I had 3 of those. I had this past year. I was hunting a bunch of old TGA stuff, and yeah, then I throw them in the greenhouse with all my selected ones from the smaller runs, and I run them again. And that's where if they're different enough, I might keep them both. But if they're similar, that's where I make my decisions on what runs better in the greenhouse for myself. And that's what I end up keeping for my final keeper. But
And then how long does it take to re-veg that keeper, basically, once you've identified it towards the end?
well, the small plants, it's only a little tiny cell pot. I harvest a little bit early. Everything comes down like 8 weeks, regardless if it has to go longer or not. I just bring it down early. So it's not taking it too long where the plant wants to die off, kind of
By
thing.
the
Make it
way,
nice. It's
you,
still
you
kind of got
mentioned that you cut the
still
top of
vigor.
the top half of the
Top
plant.
half of the plant off, yes. And then I actually about week 7, I put the light back in the re-veg schedule before I even chop it. I give it a whole week of the re-veg light, 24 hours. Then I chop my top half off, and then I smoke my sample. I dry them fairly quick. I mean, a week later they're dried and they're not even in a jar. I'm just making a small little buds off and getting first impressions off of them. And I start making notes of everything. And then over the course of the next week, I basically get to smoke through all the samples enough to where I'll select 5 or 6 of each, or whatever depending on how my numbers, obviously, depending on my starting numbers. If I have smaller numbers, I'll have less that, or they're deemed, worth to mess with again. And those will get transplanted into bigger pots and then moved into the veg room. And with the transplant and everything, it seemed to re-veg pretty quick. I'm usually 4 to 6 weeks to where I have the plants re-vegging, looking pretty like it's ready to go. It's not, I mean, obviously there are little tiny little re-veg nodes everywhere, not taking clones yet, but I'll have vigorous regrowth starting. So then it basically depends on the genes of the plant. If it's a fast, vigorous plant, I could be taking clones again. From the time I transplant it to the time I'm taking clones can be like 10 weeks. I'm cutting clones off it already. If it's something like the LA Confidential at that plant, that took me maybe 10, 12 weeks before it even started showing signs of any kind of regrowth that looks promising. I get a clone off of that sucker for at least almost 3 weeks after that. So it was slow. Some plants are slow, some are faster, but
it's still a lot better than a conventionally kind of harvested plant. I guess I had a wrong interpretation of how people do that. What was I going to say?
I've had problems with bigger plants. So if I have a bigger plant, like say a 3-gallon pot that I flowered out and I got to re-veg that seems for some reason to give me a harder time.
Yeah.
Generally too, I've never went and up potted that again and transplanted it during my re-veg. I think that helps the plant a lot. Something to do with the transplant seems to really, you get the extra room for the roots to kind of stretch out and look for new growth.
Yeah.
And what happens down below is happening up above too. So you have where the plant's looking to continue to grow.
Basically, it's almost like root pruning, which I know a lot of people do for re-veg projects, basically, when they want to save something, basically at the very end of a flower, or literally re-veg. They'll literally take it out of the pot that it's in and prune the roots, basically, so the plant feels under threat and stimulates it basically to send out roots, which supposedly anyway stimulates the re-vegging process, basically. So you're almost doing that without creating any wounds. You're giving it a whole new pot, and the plant is like, oh shit, fuck, what happened to my soil? I better grow into this. And before you know it, probably already re-vegging. Fuck, I was going to say something else before that. You were talking about, oh man, I forgot the other thing you were saying. I lost my train of thought. Cheers, folks in the chat, Salt and Sea Seeds and others. Oh, I was going to say that your paradigm, that was what I was thinking. This is an interesting example about how your paradigm limits your thinking. And even when you think to yourself, oh shit, I'm a super creative thinker or whatever your world is, you're stuck in that world's imaginative or imagination process. You can't really, it's very difficult for people to step outside of the world that they're in unless they start to kind of break down those walls and actually think about being in a different world. So, for example, you probably are not some living soil absolutist. I think you've said before you grow with some synthetic, some cocoa, some living soil, whatever, right? All kinds of stuff. You've got outdoor plants, indoor plants, you name it. Whereas I kind of exclusively basically grow in living soil. So for my mind, I'm like, oh, the biggest pot I can have, the better. A 30-gallon pot is better than a 20. A 50-gallon would be better than the 30, right? That's always how I think. The bigger, the better. And so, for example, when I am re-vegging a plant, for example, I re-vegged one of my sour Morganas not too long ago. It's in a 30-gallon pot. So wouldn't you know it, it took 2 months to re-veg. It did re-veg, but it took a while to re-veg. It wasn't some tiny little seedling. The fucking thing was 6 foot tall or more when I harvested it, right? And it's 6 foot tall now again because it's in a 30 fucking gallon pot. But again, that paradigm limits my thinking from the process of those little tiny seedlings that you were talking about. You were saying, fuck, you can basically put a couple hundred plants in a small area, flower them fairly quickly. It saves you time on the veg process, saves you
Mhm.
money, time, effort, everything, and you run through
How many
lots of
clones you would take off of them to hold clones of everything? It would be if you have a whole room full of clones you were cutting just to take clones before you flowered them out. Of, I mean, that's exactly a lot
100%.
of
Has
money,
anyone
huh?
ever had to keep track of 20 or 30 phenotypes worth of clones? You always take 3 or 4 clones of everything, right? You never take one clone of something. Shit. So you have hundreds of fucking clones before you know it. And God help you if someone accidentally moves the labels or something. You have a friend of yours come over to
Uh,
water and they accidentally move the labels a little bit, and you're like, murder time. That's definitely never happened
oh,
to me.
I've knocked the whole
Uh,
freaking tray over in the ground, and I'm like, and stuff just scatters. I'm like, what
it's
the
all garbage now.
in the
Yep,
trash
yep.
with it all.
That's
I have
it.
no idea what's what.
That's it. You'd have to flour it out to know what it is. Yeah, straight up.
Uh,
Ridiculous. Anyway, folks, we're going to give it a couple more minutes here, and then I have to leave a little bit early, so we'll all bounce a little early today. By the way, D, are we doing a takeover on Saturday?
Yes, sir.
Sweet, right on. I think we'll have a Tuesday show as normal, ladies and gentlemen. I was kind of thinking about canceling everything, but for the moment, we'll just keep everything going. And of course, we'll be here next week as obviously high noon Pacific, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone's favorite safety meeting. So I don't know, last call. We'll give it a couple minutes here, ladies and gentlemen, for any final thoughts. Rory's in the chat saying hello. Rory's saying good to see you, Joel. Rory's good people, good old fan of the show here. Salt and CC is also saying hello to everybody. Well, fuck it. You know what? We don't have to belabor the show. We can always bounce here. Who wants to go first with some final thoughts? How about you, Captain?
Well, I'm a dinosaur. I went to a place today that I should have been able to pick up supplies. They literally closed the door on the place 3 weeks ago.
I can't
Oh,
tell you how often that's happening lately to me too, Captain. It's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous. I feel you. I really feel you. I don't know what's going on. Seriously. Like among other things, there was a story the other day. You guys heard me talking about pipes. One of the last American pipe blenders is about to close down because their owner in Denmark just got bought by another owner in another Scandinavian country, and so this absolutely buy. Meanwhile, America's where tobacco was invented, right? Like it came from here. But no, Sutliff basically is the company. They're just going to get kind of shut down, and that's that. And it's meanwhile, it's one of the last of the artisanal tobacco places, but one after another, they've been basically closing down. And mind you, there's still demand. It's the most interesting thing. There's still demand. There's still like a whole vibrant pipe tobacco community and whatever. But no, the companies just close one after another. No, it's ridiculous, Captain. But I interrupted you.
Yeah.
Back to you.
So basically, I feel like now I have to turn to the internet to buy everything I need.
My fucking favorite brewery, Cascade. What is it called? Cascade Barrel Brewing in Portland. They just abruptly closed a few months ago. Right back to you.
no.
Yeah, seriously, what the fuck? But you were saying, Captain. I didn't mean to interrupt you again.
But I'm going in and I'm used to stores, having everything liquefied seaweed in powder form, sulfur, a whole bunch of things. Added nutrients where buy a bag of fucking nitrogen. And
It's, I
uh,
mean, this is an
these
interesting.
these shops today, they don't carry all this stuff.
Captain, you're not lying. I'm fascinated by what you're saying. Like we were just talking about last night about how Mammoth Microbes apparently is going out of business or has gone out of business already. I was so surprised. I was like, they were famous for excuse me, they were handing out the famous hats with the fucking elephant on it, or the mammoth on it. They had reps at every single event, just handing out bottles of samples, just like candy. For years it was Mammoth P, of course, and then they switched to their Mammoth Silica. And then against my best judgment, I actually started to like their Mammoth, the IPM with the thyme oil or whatever. It actually works really well. Now they're out of business. So I'm like, fuck the Mammoth IPM shit that I have. It's like the last bottle I'll probably ever have. How do you function in this modern world where every single thing gets closed down before you know it? Like, I mean, I'm seriously, like, the grocery stores, not only the grocery stores are closing down, like the grocery store I used to go to is gone. The several no,
Everything in my area
the
is
first
closed
grocery
down.
store I went to is gone. Now the other grocery store I went to is gone. You're saying, North Star?
Everything in my area since Prop 64 passed, like what, 5 or 6 years ago now, within like 2 or 3 years, every like hydro store, grocery store, so to say, has closed within like a 10-mile radius of my house. Nothing's even open. I think like there's like one big, huge one in Santa Rosa area, but that's a corporate owned one. They own like them up and down everywhere. Other than that, I go to like
Like
the local
Regeneration.
nursery. They have all the dry amendments, everything there, but that's really just it's been their generational, big, huge nursery market that has everything you could possibly want, but they don't carry a huge line of, liquid nutrients and different things you could pick up here and there for quick stuff. It's
Wait
more
a
for
second.
farming your property and stuff.
My local nursery that's around the corner that I've gone to with my grandparents when I was a kid, to the point where I was ordering, bales of Pro Mix, and they were keeping an extra 20, 30 on stock for me. They used to have, you know, phosphate in a bag. They used to have this in a bag. They carried all of that. Now they're down to like 2 rows of stuff, and nothing is in a bag like that. It's all mixtures from big companies. And I'm like, well, you got any humic or
Probably
folic
cheaper.
acid? And they're like, no, that's gone.
Hmm.
You got this? Nope, that's gone. So
Well,
no.
we'll see. There was a book years ago called The Long Tail, and it basically said that capitalism's future involved catering to micro audiences. Basically, the long tail is a kind of this diminishing a tail of, okay, you have a big audience here, let's say the Taylor Swift's audience, fucking millions of people. But over here, you got the pipe tobacco community, the weed community, the model train community, whatever, right? Every single hobby you can think of. And there's small niches, but there's still aggregately around the world hundreds of fucking thousands of people, right? So I don't know, pick something, the pipe tobacco community or the weed community or whatever. There's millions probably around the world, even though percentage wise in any different location there's not all that many. Well, so the idea was that capitalism would basically cater to these small niches, and yet except what we have is the opposite. What we have is basically all these little niches are getting necked out somehow, either because shipping is too expensive or whatever, right? And all that's left is basically stuff that no one really wants, but it's this like mass market part of the tail over on this side. I don't know. I don't understand it.
Well,
Captain,
Super
talk.
Thrive bought out Dynagrow, and the only products they put out now is Grow and Bloom.
Huh?
They've done away with the rest of the
That's what
PK
companies do. They
Boost and
simplify. People
Silica.
always think, "Oh, great, they got bought out," but no, it's usually a bad thing they got bought out because
Yeah.
half the employees or three-quarters.
Yeah, for the consumer, the problem is we're getting nailed because the smaller companies, they can't buy and scale like these bigger companies can to offset the price of some. So exactly, if you support a small company, expect you're going to pay a lot more than you would for the exact same product from a big company because input costs are just so much different.
Yeah.
What can you do?
So on that
So much you
note,
know about it.
everybody have a good week. We'll catch you on the weekend.
Cheers, Captain.
And stay warm if
Good to
you're
see
in
you,
the
man.
Midwest.
Yeah, man.
Take it easy, Captain.
Go for it, North Star.
Well, shit. Holiday season's coming here, so everyone get ready for festive few weeks coming up.
Right.
Well, yeah, got a good 5-week festive season coming up here. I would highly suggest indulge in a lot of stuff, but indulge in moderation.
Mm.
You won't have nearly as much need to have New Year resolutions if you don't make yourself feel like shit from overindulging and stuff or the whole holiday season.
That's right. You don't gain 25 pounds, you don't have to lose
So
30. That's right.
exactly, you don't need to go on some crazy diet if you don't go on some crazy eating spree for the next 5 weeks. You'll be fine.
That's fine. Cheers.
So
Best of it.
peace. Everyone have a good weekend.
Cheers.
Later.
Later.
Beauty, it's all yours.
Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Like Jimmy said earlier, don't forget to tune in Saturday, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time with the pre-show on my channel. You can find me on YouTube, DZombie_745. I gotta write that down somewhere, tattooed on my forehead. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week, and later.
Cheers, D. Good to see
Thanks,
you, my
Jimmy.
friend.
By the way,
Now I'm trying to remember what I was I telling a story about an old lady buying 3 apples? I don't want to
no,
catch up
it's
ancient history, but I don't remember. I don't remember. I was probably high and I was like, it probably made sense at the time. And I'm just like, I don't remember that. Anyway, but ladies and gerbils, thanks very much for joining us. Jones, of course, Robert Bendula, good to see you on the chat or on the panel. Jess and Bean, pardon me for a second. Oh my. I think this cold is getting better, but it's taking forever. Justin Bean, as I was saying, Rory Gardner, as always, good to see you. Salt and Sea Seeds down there, probably in the heat as usual. Who else is hanging with us? Hardcore was hanging with us, one of the few blue names lately. Miranda Family Farms, good to see you as well. And anybody else I missed, I can't see. Oh, Dr. Leave Me Alone is in the house. I missed you, Dr. Leave Me Alone. Welcome, folks, and I guess the opposite of welcome, because have a good afternoon. I hope you guys had a good chance to puff something wonderful. As always, hope you had a chance to check your safety condition, and hopefully the condition was good. Hopefully it's better now. Hopefully it's better now after the meeting. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, however your condition is, folks, be kind, be decent, be gentle. Don't be fucking pricks, dicks, or lunatics. And don't forget, of course, to puff something wonderful. Of course, if you're not able to puff something wonderful, as I indicated at the beginning of the show, if weed is illegal or something, then I hope you guys are able to treat yourselves in some other reasonable way. Of course, I don't want you to do something stupid, but treat yourself well if possible, and of course, if possible, treat your friends and neighbors well as well. Don't forget to be nice to animals and children and so on and so forth, and just in general, try to be a decent person, especially in these times when we're going to be filled with a surplus of asshole behavior. It's just inevitable, basically. I've seen it already. So, yeah, it's not even worth going into. We're just going to see more and more of it. So make an effort, ladies and gentlemen, to counteract the assholitude if it's possible. I don't know that there's a karmic balance of assholeness, but we'll pretend. We'll pretend that there is. Maybe that'll make us feel better for the time being. In the meantime, though, like I said, folks, puff something wonderful and have a good time, my friends. Thanks, D, for helping out as always, and thanks, of course, to the panel for stopping by. Good conversations as always. And until we meet again, my friends.